Hi and welcome to tonight's live tutorial. Thank you for joining me. I'm Pam Wrigley and I am a wedding makeup artist and hairstylist. Tonight I'm going to show you a beautiful textured kind of low roll with some twists coming back at the sides that actually look like they're braids. They look like kind of lovely, kind of detailed, almost fishtail braids, but it's going to be just created out of a twist. I'm also going to be showing you how to work with padding. So I think this is really important when you're creating bridal hairstyles, because of course our hairstyles have to be secure and they've got to stay in place usually from early in the morning till late at night. So let me just give you a little run through of what we're going to be covering. So I've already prepped the hair, so she's got some texture in the hair. We're going to do a little bit of height with some nice little piecey sections, some twists coming back, and a lovely low roll here at the back, at the nape of the neck here. So sometimes when we do these live YouTube videos, tutorials, it's a little bit, the sound and the picture doesn't quite match up at the beginning, but please just persevere. We are streaming this live and it should all catch up and all be just kind of perfect by around now, I'm hoping. If you have any questions, my beautiful assistant just off camera, just type your questions in. My beautiful assistant will read them out and I'll be able to answer. And it could be anything. It could be about tonight's bridal hairstyle. It could be about another hairstyle that you're trying to create, and maybe your bride sent you some questions about when she should wash her hair, or should she have her hair wet on the morning of the wedding. It could be anything. Could be about advertising and promoting your services as a bridal hairstylist. So please feel free to ask your questions and my assistant will read them out and I'll do my best to answer them. But let's get started. So tonight's style, as I say, is a lovely low roll. Now, every week we do a different style. If you have any styles that you particularly would like to learn, please just let me know and we'll include them in, if not next week's tutorial, but certainly in future tutorials. And of course, we love to get your comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next live tutorial. So let's get started, shall we? So I've already decided where the part is going to be, and I'm kind of doing a bit of a diagonal back parting here from quite deep over at the side. But you know, you can just kind of play around with where you're going to part the hair, but kind of have a think about that first of all with your client. I'm working with a mirror just off camera here, so if you see me looking to the side, it's because I'm just checking the style in the mirror, and it really makes such a big difference when you are creating any hairstyle. I find if you work with a mirror, it will make your life so much easier. It's a little bit more to carry around if you're mobile, but boy, is it worth it. So let's just start work at the back here. So usually when I create my bridal hairstyles, I separate the hair into different sections. So here we're going to be working with the crown section. We've separated our side sections already, and I've got the crown section and the back section. So I'm just going to put a tiny little bit of back coming in here. I have already prepped the hair, so I've used the crimpers and a little bit of salt spray, little tiny bit of back combing just at the root. When you've texturized the hair already, you'll find that you don't need an awful lot of back combing to get some beautiful height and some beautiful movement. So you don't need a lot, depending on how much height your client would like. But I'm just putting a little bit down at the root. Just a little bit, maybe a little bit more here actually as well. In this front section, just a touch. But once you've done the hair prep, and the hair prep can take a little bit of time, but it's worth persevering and taking your time to get the hair prep right, because it really will make the rest of the styling process so much easier. And not everybody will necessarily want to have their hair kind of texturized. You won't necessarily need to crimp all your client's hair. You might just be using a little bit of salt spray and then maybe curling the hair. And I'm just going to use a little bit of our Super Ego Creative Texture Cream, it's their structure styling cream. And it's fabulous. It's a lovely product. It's a little bit like a curl cream, but it has a lot more holding power. So I've got a little bit on the back of my hand, and I pick up a little smear of that on my fingers, and I'm just going to create some lovely kind of piecey sections in the hair. Now you will find when you're working with your practice head, the hair is usually quite coarse, especially, you know, when you first get them, sometimes they can be a little bit soft and fly away, but that doesn't last for very long. So you might find when you're working on your practice head, a little bit of texturizing goes a long way. And when you're back working with your clients again, you might start, you'll start to realize that actually, especially if you're working with somebody who's got quite fine hair, that their hair is nothing like the hair on the practice head. And that's where you'll really need to use your texturizing, your products. You could use a little bit of the texturizing powder at the root of the hair. And especially if it's kind of like very hot. I'm just going to bring this in. If it's quite a hot day and your client's going to get all kind of a bit hot and bothered, then sometimes you might find if you use a bit of the texturizing powder at the root, it helps the style to hold. Just let me make sure I'm at the back of the head here. That's it. It helps the style to hold, and it stops any kind of dampness coming through in the hair. So the texturizing powder can be great, but be careful. I'm just popping a couple of bobby pins here at the bottom. Now, it's not easy to show you when we're doing our live tutorials. It's hard for me to kind of for you to get close up and kind of personal with the hairstyle, because we can't zoom in on this with this camera. But we do, of course, have our online training courses, and we've been doing our online courses now for a good kind of about 5 or 6 years, I think. So it's well and truly established with some fabulous tutorials on there. And we do have, as I say, we've got lots of detailed tutorials and videos, so you can learn lots of different things about hair prep, braiding, blow drying, hairstyling, working with different hair types. So don't worry if you can't see close up here. You can, of course, learn with me on our online tutorials and learn that way if you feel you can't quite see everything in our live videos. So, and we do have a special offer on at the moment because everything's so difficult at the moment. It seems we feel like we're kind of getting out of COVID and then we're all back in it again, and not quite on lockdown, but it feels like it's getting closer and closer. I know we've got restrictions now back in the UK about how many people we can meet at a time. I don't know how it is where you're based. What I'm doing here is I'm just putting some little fine pins on these little piecey sections just to help them kind of stand out just a little bit more. This is optional. And you can put a little row down the back. You might find if you're working with a person, you might need a little bit more than I've got here on the practice head. Now, it wouldn't surprise me if when I finish this style, usually when I'm working on the live tutorials and I'm working on camera, kind of gets a little bit lopsided because I'm kind of working to one side so that you can see from the back here. So it might be a little bit skew-iff, but we won't worry about that. When you're creating your hairstyles for your clients, always make sure you're standing at the back, in the center, so you can see exactly what you're doing, and the whole style is balanced and gorgeous. So now I'm just gonna leave the side sections down. Let me just make sure I've got enough hair here. Yeah, that's one side section, I think, there. And what you can do when you create these little, you know, your section lines at the side here, is you can do a little zigzag if you like, and you might find that that will help. Just a little zigzag with a tail comb, so it helps to disguise the section line here, and you'll find it will also help, because we've got this kind of different shape here, will also help to make these sections a little bit more piecey. So then you can bring these back. And what you can do as well is just, if your lady's got highlights, just try and make sure, I'm just going to prop this up on a hairpin, just try and make sure that you like the way the highlights are sitting in the hair. And that will just, you'll find that will just kind of help to kind of make the style look a little bit more kind of defined. Now, I haven't yet, I keep meaning to every week, I haven't yet cut little layers into this practice head. So I'm not, on this occasion, I'm not going to leave any bits of hair down, but it would look lovely if she had some nice little soft bits around her face. So I would love it if you try out these styles and send me your photos. I'm getting lots of messages from our subscribers, from other bridal hairstylists who are learning how to work with extensions and creating different hairstyles. We do have a lot of styles on YouTube, but the bulk of our styles are on we've got about 160 hairstyles on our online training course now. So we've brought this back. We've got our little piecey sections. We still have the side bits to go. And I'm going to just secure this back now, leaving the hairpins all in place for now. I'm going to secure this with a hairband to create a ponytail at the back here. Let me just get a nice strong snag-free band. So yeah, we have around about 160 styles, full-length tutorials, plus kind of live tutorials, which we've probably got about another 30, maybe even 40 of those, because we've been doing our live tutorials for a long time. So there's a lot of information on that site, lots of styles, classic styles, vintage hairstyles, smooth, sleek bridal hairstyles. Lots of lovely textured updos. Let's just keep these in position for a minute more. That's it. And make sure this band is nice and tight and central, because I have a funny feeling I might have brought this to one side a little bit. Let's just see. Yeah, I might just take her back up to the side. She's definitely over to one side. Let me just see if I can move that over without spoiling the style too much. Let's have a look. Let's turn her back again. Yeah, she's not central. I'm going to do that again, because that will really be crucial to the style. Be gentle if you're working with a real person. That's it. Let's get rid of that one. Okay, so now let me just make sure I'm central with this band, because otherwise the rest of the style really will suffer. That's better. So put your ponytail in. Just 1 minute. I feel like that needs to be a bit tighter. That's it. And don't forget, if you've got any questions, please let me know. Do we have a question now?
Yes. Patricia says, when you cut the hair with this style...
Is this Patricia James?
Yes.
Ah, hi, Patricia. Yeah, one of my students.
When you prep the hair with this style, how do you disguise the crimping?
Good question. Well, you know what? Surprisingly, when you crimp the hair, that's better. Yeah, she's a little bit more central. When you crimp the hair, I'm going to just put these pins in. When you crimp the hair, so you prepped it, you've got your salt spray on. You might use a little bit stronger hairspray, setting lotion maybe, or a stronghold hairspray, at the root, so you get that extra little bit of root lift, and then you'll crimp the hair down through the mid-lengths and ends and at the root. And then what you can do when you finish your crimping, you could do maybe a few sections and then brush it all through with a tangle teaser. So you kind of lose those little fine crimp lines. The crimp lines don't need to be, they need to be there and kind of visible. But if you can use the little mini crimps, it might be slightly better. If you're using the bigger ones, then you just don't need to hold on quite so long and use very small sections of hair. So you'll find it'll crimp quite quickly. And then when you brush it all through with your tangle teaser, you'll find the hair will just increase in volume and you'll start to lose the crimp lines. Sometimes they do stay visible, especially if your lady's got fine hair. It's not so bad on the practice heads because the hair's quite coarse. But if you're working with someone with fine hair, sometimes I find along the hairline, they can hold that crimp shape. So a good idea there is I would crimp, but not use anything strong at the roots, and very minimal kind of product on this hairline area here, just so you don't get those very fine bits of crimping, visible on the very fine parts of sections of the hair. And if they are visible, you can just go over them gently with the straighteners, just a little bit, just tap, tap, tap with the straighteners at the root. And I find we've got a little quick tip video on the online course about how, you might be getting somebody's hair straight at the root, but if you're trying to straighten somebody's hair from the crimping at the root, you can't hold the straighteners close to the hairline because it will burn. But what you can do is you can just go close and tap, tap, tap with the straighteners, and that way you can get close to the scalp without causing any discomfort to your client. So yes, brush through the hair and try not to use too much product on the front sections where the hair is going to be really visible. So I hope that helps. I've just popped a bobby pin across there because I feel I could do with a little bit more security just there, and it's also going to help me for the next stage. So for this bit, a little bit more of the structure cream. And now this is optional. If you were doing a smooth, I'm just going to pull through the hair underneath here. You can see in little sections, not too small. I'm just going to try and get some little piecey bits going on underneath here. Can we see the hair down here with the camera here? Now, if you were doing a smooth roll or working on somebody that got, incredibly fine hair, you could put some backcombing in here. You could put some if you were doing a smooth roll, you'd definitely put some backcombing in here. But because we're doing a little textured roll, I'm kind of adding a little bit of texture to these sections underneath. So when I roll the hair up, it will have a little bit of texture and a bit of movement, but you'll see in a minute. And so basically what we're trying to do here is, you can just pick the hair up and roll it. But if you're working with somebody who has very fine, soft, silky hair, and not very much of it, or so now we should have some little piecey work underneath here. You can just see that a little bit there. So if you're working with somebody with very fine hair and you want to bulk out the little roll, then you could use, your padding is invaluable. So this is just a little bit of doughnut that I've cut into pieces. This is a little darker piece of padding, but the same thing. So the padding can be used for two different purposes. For fine hair, it can bulk out the roll and give it more kind of oomph. And for thick, long, heavy hair, I'm going to wrap this around the padding. So I've rolled the padding up and I'm just going to roll this up. So for thick, long, heavy hair, and I'm rolling this quite tight, but what the padding does for thick, long, heavy hair is it gives you an anchor to make sure that everything is lovely and secure. So once you've got the padding up there, then we've got our little bobby pin going across the back here. And you could either use a bobby pin or you can use a hairpin, go into that padding and secure either behind the ponytail, or you could go behind one of the bobby pins that you've got there, just to make the hair kind of really secure. So the padding has two different purposes. It can be used, as I say, to bulk out fine hair, or it can be used to help make thick, heavy hair secure. Whichever way you're doing, I think this may be a little bit big. I could maybe have done it a little bit tighter because I don't want, she's got quite a lot of hair and I don't want it to be too big. So I could have rolled that up a little bit tighter, I think for the purposes of the tutorial. No, that's fine, actually. I'll lift these sides up just a little bit so we can close this roll off just a bit at the sides. But as I say, for wedding hair, it is really important that your styles are really secure and they're not going to move. Secure and comfortable, two things we need to think about. So you don't have so many bobby pins in there that she can't move her head and it's painful. So we don't want to do that. Let's just pull this around a little bit. That's better. And secure this in position. And we talked a little bit last week about, we spoke last week, didn't we, about working on the trial run and making sure that you take proper notes so that, that's it. See this one, what I don't like about this one, actually let me just finish that sentence first. We spoke about working on the trial run so that your style, so you know exactly what you're doing on the wedding day, so you don't feel stressed at all. So you write everything down and you make sure that in detail, don't just take photographs because that means that's better. So if you do it that way, then the wedding day is stress-free. So what I would make a note about here is, I don't like this kind of patch of dark here. So I'd make a little note on my trial run sheet to make sure that, especially on the sections of hair underneath, because quite often people have the hair can be darker underneath, and if only, you know, if they haven't had a full head of color, then the hair might be quite dark underneath. And you want to make sure that you don't get big blocks of color. I think little subtle changes in tone can work really nicely. So that's what I would write down on my little trial run sheet here. So I might put also a few little pins on. If I wanted to make these sections a little bit kind of piecier, I could do that and work some little pins on these sections as well. So we do have tutorials showing you how to work with these little pins. If you're not sure, you might be able to see what I'm doing. Hopefully you can, but if not, we do have tutorials showing how to do this step by step. Do we have another question?
Yes, Rose says, aside from the
Hi, Rose.
Are you working with extensions today?
You know what? That's a very good question. And we do have, I don't think it was last week, I think it was the week before, I did a style on this head. It was a beautiful, gorgeous, kind of twisted, big bun. We used padding again, but the padding for that particular style, but the padding for that style was actually for size. The padding for this style is for security. And we did have one weft of extensions in the hair, and that weft of extensions is still in the hair, and you can see that's what these little dark patches are here. So but it's actually been quite good because it's meant that I've been able to point out where I would correct this style, where the kind of points that I would write down where I'm doing this style on a trial run. And if I wanted to get it absolutely perfect, which of course you do on the wedding day, to think about where her highlights are. And it might even be the case that when somebody sees their hair, if you do a style like this, you know, if they do have that, the different tonality to the hair and it's a lot darker underneath, usually what I do, I take pictures when I do a trial, and they'll be able to see that actually maybe they need to add a few extra colors into the hair so that on the day it doesn't look like the bun is kind of one really dark color and the rest of the hair is a light color. So she might actually decide to have some extra color added into the hair. So here at the side, I'm just doing a lovely tight twist, and here you would decide which little bits you are going to have down. And I'm going to do a little twist. And in this twist, once I've got the twist, let's see, she looks like she's got a piece of hair going across her face. That's better, I think. So once you've got the twist, so take your little bits of hair down at the side, and then we're going to create a lovely kind of almost fishtail looking braid at the back, but certainly a braid here. So we're just going to pull little bits out of this tight twist. Try and keep this quite neat if you can. You're pulling out your sections. You might find you do it on one side, and then when you do the next one, we might have to redo it. But let's just see here. Oh, it's a little bit higher up, I think. So hopefully, I hope you're enjoying the tutorial, and please don't forget to comment and like, hit the notification bell. And yeah, subscribe. Our subscribers are getting more every week, and we're loving it. And as I say, we get people watch these, don't just watch the tutorials live, but they're able to watch them kind of over and over to help them with their styles throughout the week, their work throughout the week. That's it. That's better. And I'm just going to create a lovely little twisted effect here. And yeah, I love to get your messages. So please keep in touch. Let me know what other styles you might like to learn. And I'm not going to go too crazy pulling this out, because I might just find I've just done too much. I might twist it again a little bit more just to tighten it a little bit. That's it. So you would be able to take your time when you're doing this and pull your little side bits down. I'm going to try putting a little elastic band on the end of here now. Sometimes I just tuck it under, but let's just see. With an elastic band, it might make it a little bit easier to secure. If you were working with long hair here, then I would definitely recommend putting a little band on the hair. But let's see. Maybe a little bit lower. That's it. Then I'm going to grip this in position using a bobby pin. Pin that in. So we've got quite a lot of anchors here. We've got a good foundation here for the style. We've got our ponytail. First of all, when we brought our height back, we've got our row of bobby pins that's holding the height in position. Then we held it all together with a hairband. So there's a lot of kind of anchors, and we've got the padding, of course. So we've got lots of anchors in here that are going to enable us to kind of make sure that this is a secure style. And at the moment, it's actually quite fashionable for brides to have, I didn't put product on that side, but I'm going to put it on this side and see if it helps a little bit more. But it's quite fashionable for brides to have long veils. So if you're going to be wearing, if your client is going to be wearing a long kind of cathedral length veil, and she wants a lovely soft, relaxed looking, note the word relaxed looking, but she wants a lovely soft, relaxed looking style, it's our job to create that style, whatever her hair type, to create that style. You could use, that's where the texturizing will come in handy, because it will make the hair makes it a little bit more manageable. But it's our job to create a style that suits her and looks fabulous on her, suits her hair type, suits her face shape, stays in place all day, doesn't fall down when we put the veil in. So there are lots of things you need to kind of think about and consider. You know what, I much prefer this twist. I haven't pulled it out as much. I think I've pulled that one out too far, whereas that one is better. This one now, let me move my hand. This one I think just looks a bit floppy. So you know what, I'm going to take it out. Do that one again, because I just don't like it. That's better. Sometimes don't feel when you create styles that you have to get it right first time, because it's a whole learning process, and I'm learning new stuff all the time, every day. We always keep on learning. So don't be under pressure to feel that you have to get things right first time, second time, third time. And sometimes your brides will ask you what you're going to do. And if they're not sure what hairstyle they want, sometimes they'll say, well, what are you going to do? And quite often I say, I don't actually know. I don't know what I'm going to do until I get my hands in your hair and I can see what your hair wants to do and what suits you best. Then I'll have an idea what I'm going to do. So don't feel pressurized to having, all the answers straight away. I think sometimes when we're first learning, we think we should, when we first start doing something, we think if somebody else asks a question, we should be able to say exactly what they need to do. But actually, it's okay to say you don't know. I'm not sure yet, but we'll work something out. We'll find out the best style for you. So don't feel you need to have all the answers all the time. That's what the trial's there for, to try out different ideas. Another question?
Patricia says, I love your tutorials, Pam. Such a good tutor.
Thank you, Patricia. You know what I have to say as well, that I did a lot of face-to-face courses for a long time, probably around about 12 years. I think we've been doing face-to-face courses. And I think on those face-to-face courses, it helps you be a better teacher. So I now feel that my online courses are much better because I did a lot of face-to-face teaching. So hopefully I am clear and concise, but if ever you're not sure about anything, please just ask and I can either repeat what I've done, I can do another video, or I can make it clearer, on the actual online course. And on the online course, we do actually have a student forum. Now I need to be careful not to go too crazy with this pulling out. So we have a student forum where students can speak to each other. They can ask me questions, if you're worried about a style that you've got to do for a trial run. I think Patricia, actually, I know you sent me an email, I think. I got back to your email the other day and you sent me another one earlier today about a trial that your lady wants for her. She's got fine hair, I think. And that's getting a bit better. Fine hair, and she wants you've got a trial run coming up, I think, is that right, Patricia? So hopefully this style might be quite nice. I've also got I've got a bride that I'm working with on Saturday, actually, and we've got a style that I did actually a couple of weeks ago here on YouTube, but I've done an online version that's a lot more detailed, and that will be available early next week. So I'm not quite sure when your trial is, but what I try to do, and I'm doing this style for this bride on Saturday, and it's just such a lovely, lovely bun with this gorgeous bit of padding. I think you'll be able to see it is on one of our YouTube tutorials. But as I say, we've got a more in-depth version, close-up and personal version on our online training course, which will be live shortly. See, look at that. It looks so much better. And I took it out and pulled out less. I don't think it's made a big difference whether I've added the texture, the styling cream to it or not. This is the styling cream. This one isn't. This one maybe looks ever so slightly piecier, but either way, I think it looks gorgeous. I might almost be there. And all you need to do is take these little things off. But I'm really glad you like the tutorial, so thank you. I love teaching and I love doing hair and I love working with brides. So all in all, it's all good. So let's just keep going with these. Take these little pins out. She would look absolutely gorgeous, I do think, if she had a nice few little soft bits down. But you know what? Next time. I've got one little bit of hair here left. Have we got another question?
Yes, Patricia says, this is exactly what I was looking for. It's like you read my mind.
Oh, good. I am glad. And when is your trial? Hopefully, let me know how your job goes when you do the trial. And yeah, it'd be lovely to see your styles. Maybe try it out a few times on your practice head first. But what is lovely about this style is it looks soft and relaxed, but it's actually really secure. So yeah, it's gorgeous. We might put a few little flowers in, and I think we might be there. And sometimes I find if you are struggling, you know, and everything's perfect, but you've just got a little gap there. If you've got sometimes you can create a little space for an accessory. Sometimes an accessory can come to the rescue, but you don't really want to be relying on that. Flower popped in there. That's it. We even have tutorials on working with accessories. We did work with a veil, didn't we, the other week on one of our tutorials. So if you didn't get a chance to catch that, we do have that. We have those tutorials both. So we've got one on YouTube that we did recently, and we've got them for sure on our online training. Pretty little things here. And I would definitely, I think this is just a bit too dark just here, so I'd break that up a little bit. And maybe one more, why not? Now be careful with these. It's a perfect example. These little, when you've got these little wired kind of flowery things, when you're trying them out, if you go too close to the hair, it will catch the hair. And then if it's not the right place, when you have to pull it out, you pull out bits of hair. So just be really careful. Just kind of hold it close nearby, but not too close. Then you can pop that in behind some of those. We almost don't need some. Quite often I do the up and over with these, but we've got such a lot of nice anchors behind here that I can pin that in, slide it in behind an anchor. Try not to squash the whole thing too much, so it still looks like a nice flower. Let's see if I can recover that. That's a bit better. And then you can bend them into the hair. And that is our beautiful, soft, low roll with a few little accessories in there. Kind of, I probably might move those around a little bit, but now I think we've got our lovely little style. She could do with being pulled in a little bit and tweaked. But I hope you have enjoyed tonight's tutorial. Let's bring her in just a little bit more so you can see her a bit better. Nice little piecey work. I've taken the pins out. We've got a kind of little faux braid here, but it looks gorgeous, and our lovely secure low roll at the back. You've learned how to work with padding, how to create these piecey sections, and how to create a lovely, secure, gorgeous bridal or bridesmaids hairstyle. So I hope you've enjoyed. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and any questions you can just drop me a line anytime via the link on YouTube, or of course my students on my online training course can get in touch with me direct anytime. But I hope you've enjoyed the tutorial, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great week and stay safe. Bye. Thanks for joining me.